Pen Pals, this is Tom with Gold Spot Pens. Today I have a very special guest for you. I have Scott Christian Sava, who is the author and artist who wrote Becoming an Artist. And Scott joined me for an informal, somewhat conversation. I did have some questions for him out of reading the book and watching a few of his other interviews. And we just sat down, wanted to talk about art, about writing, about self-expression, about his book tour, what it took to create that book that he writes, and also what it's like to be an artist that's on YouTube and is being seen by millions of people every day. So without any further ado, let's check out the interview. Scott, I appreciate you joining us here at the Gold Spot Pens channel, and we wanted to thank you first of all for jumping on with us to have this interview here. And we're going to talk about art. We're going to talk about your book, which I have right here, Becoming an Artist, which had just come out not too long ago. And I think I just wanted to start off first with just showing you, because I know that people do this to you at your book signings or when you meet them out in the wild, is I pulled out some of my really early sketch work.
That's so good.
So this is Spider-Man from 1994. I put
Oh
up
my
here.
gosh.
So this was when I was 12 years old.
I love it.
I still keep, I have the lizard. I have a bunch of stuff.
That's how I started Spider-Man.
And then I moved off. Well, I'm also wearing, I don't know if you noticed, I'm also wearing a Spider-Man t-shirt for you as well. So
oh my, I couldn't tell from the, yeah.
So
that is so cool.
It's all Spidey heads. But then in my journey as because I always loved comic books, and I know that you've said that drawing Spider-Man was your main dream for such a long time.
Yeah.
For me, it was I was really heavily into Spider-Man. I got the issues sent to me via mail. My parents had them mailed over to me.
The subscription. That's so cool.
Subscription to it. So I was getting Amazing Spider-Man. I get Spider-Man 2099. There was all the different Spider-Man offshoots and stuff. And then I started as I was getting into it. I got into other comic book characters that were from the Image imprint. So this is Pitt.
Oh,
this is from 1996. So I was 14. So I also did Angela I was also big into Spawn.
Yeah.
Spawn was kind of my jam.
Todd McFarlane and
Yeah. So it's that is my favorite version of Spider-Man, by the way.
I love that. Yeah.
What was your favorite version of Spider-Man?
I have to be the Ditko. I loved when Todd McFarlane came out. I got to meet him. He did a signing in San Jose, California, and I got him to sign some of my Spider-Mans, and it was really nice. I love the classic Ditko. It's just that was what I practiced on, and there's just a special place. But I copied McFarlane's so much, Eric Larson's. I loved Rick Leonardi's 2099. So there are some Spider-Man artists who you just go, wow, this is just beautiful. And but yeah, McFarlane's was game changing. It really was.
Yeah, and the Ditko one, that was also the one that you would see in Drawing the Marvel Way. That was
John Buscema.
Okay. Yes. All right.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm a nerd. I have right behind me. That's an original John Buscema Conan. I have every issue of Conan the Barbarian.
Nice.
But which is funny because Spider-Man was my thing, but then I think when I was a teenager, Conan with Arnold Schwarzenegger came out, and then I just got heavily into that, and I think that just kind of was my transition into my teen years.
And that was your first original character.
Was a barbarian too, Orion.
Yeah, and that's one consistent thing that I always saw too, looking through my sketchbook, was that any of the original characters that I drew were basically oh, well, this is the knockoff of this character.
Yeah,
so
that's how we learn.
Spider-Man with wings, and it's just
I mean that's how artists, that's how writers, that's how musicians learn, is by copying and stealing and taking elements of their favorite things and making it theirs. But I mean, that's how humans learn. We learn how to talk and walk by copying our parents, and it's a very natural thing, and it's a beautiful thing. I love that you can see those influences in your art. I mean, when you're doing that, I think that's something beautiful. And I think artists and writers and musicians should celebrate their influences a little bit more.
And that's what I basically had started, and I think I did the same thing when it comes to writing too, is that you have your influences, you have the things that you really like, and then you're like, oh, well, I just kind of put it down on paper and try to, I usually would do things, and I know that in your book, you'd say, hey, tracing's not bad. But for me, I would always do it just kind of visually, just looking at it. So I would be copying, but I wouldn't be tracing. I felt it helped my skills with being able to kind of understand. And it's like the same thing you would do in art class too, when you're doing a still life or a figure drawing, or you're trying to draw and translate what it is that you're seeing, and then put it down, and then do it yourself. And that's why I was trying to sharpen those skills.
Yeah, it's important because you learn how to break things down into simpler shapes. You learn your proportions, you learn perspective, you learn all of that by drawing what you see and not tracing. It's just there's a stigma that was going on on the internet where kids were telling other kids tracing is bad, tracing is wrong, and it's not. It's just a tool. I wouldn't recommend doing it all the time, but professionals do it, especially if you've got to get a movie poster done or something, and the Paramount Pictures is not hiring you to not trace. They're hiring you to get it right. And if you got to trace that face to get the proportions right, you do. Tracing is just the foundation. It's just you're saying, okay, I need to either get this perfect for the client, or I need to do something really quick and I don't want to spend, so I'm just going to trace this real quick. And then, but then you still have the rest of the drawing. You got the painting, you got the colors, you got everything else going on. It's just a tool. And I don't want to be known as the guy who's always talking about tracing being good. It's just, it was something that I didn't want people to feel bad about doing it if they needed to, but you did it right. Learning to use your eyes and your hands and draw visually is the right way to go.
Yeah, and I don't know if you've seen the movie Chasing Amy before. Where he's the famous part in the beginning. It was like when they call him a tracer.
You're just a tracer.
You're just a tracer. That always comes to mind. But I just feel like there's a lot of commonalities, especially when I was reading your book. I'm just like this feels a lot like my own origin story with getting into art. I graduated with a bachelor's in fine arts. So like that, it's kind of like my thing is visual art, but then as a career, I've transitioned into writing majority of the time and marketing. But still, I kind of find that there's so much that's similar between both of them. It's still a creative medium. It still allows an expression of things. It just is in a different way. It's just like the way that you're engaging people's emotions and the way that you're playing with the imagination is just in a different language, basically.
It's all art. It's all storytelling.
Yeah. And so, although one of your chapters is titled literally use any tool that helps get the job done. Many people will want to know what are your favorite go-to illustration tools if you have any pens that you use in your artwork. Donna made me bring visuals, so I'm gonna I brought this is my Swiss medic bag. This was it was post World War II medic bag, and when I bought it, it came filled with medical supplies that were never used. But in it fit all of my. Let's see if I get. It fit all of my art supplies perfectly. Wow.
And so in it, I have my pens, and my go-to pen is this one. It is the Zebra brush pen. It's the very fine. And nice. I have a micron, and I have larger versions. but that is the one I use
And it
99%
has
of the
a
time.
flexible type of tip, right?
Yeah,
Like, put
yeah.
pressure on it,
It's
gives you the.
oh, no, can we?
Oh, yeah, there you go.
I'll do that. But
So it's kind of like
it's
a little bit of a bullet tip on it.
yeah, yeah. I can get very, very fine lines and then push down, get really thick lines. I get really wonderful variations, which I like to do when I'm doing my line work, where I just go thin to thick a lot. The other thing I have with me is my little Winsor & Newton watercolor set, which opens up.
Oh, nice. It's got the little pans of watercolors.
Yeah, so those are my favorite colors. So you can fill it with your own colors. This is a flask of water. This is a little paintbrush, though I have other collapsible paint brushes that I will use. And then the last most important thing is the sketchbook. This
Nice.
is Be Creative watercolor paper, and I love this company. They're really hard to get in touch with, and the paper's very scarce, so I've bought like a whole bunch of them. But I love the texture of it, the feel of it. I get just beautiful colors. It's 100% cotton paper, and my bookshelf is filled with them. And
Nice.
it is, yeah, those are my go-to. If it was possible to get the Be Creative watercolor paper in larger sizes, I would do all my larger paintings with it. But otherwise, I'll use usually like Arch's watercolor paper for that.
And in the writing world, there is a similar type of company. It's for Tomoe River paper that is one of those things where people are looking for older versions of it.
Yeah.
That were made by a certain machine and have hoarded so much of it because it's that good, and then the future versions of it that were made, there was some bad batches that were made in 2025, I think it was. So there's a lot about paper that you don't think that it could be that important, but it is.
I say, at least for watercolor, I don't know if it is the same for journaling, but I think for watercolor, paper is more important than the watercolor. I
think
really do.
The paper really allows the ink to fully express itself.
Yeah.
And then also, because especially if you're using very thick nibs, like triple broad or stub nibs, that certain types of paper, if they're not adequately able to, like, they cannot handle it. Like watercolor paper can, of course it's a very liquid medium, so you're dealing with something that's highly water based that's being painted on, so it's thicker and it's more capable of that. But when it comes to journaling and having a notebook with 200 plus pages, it can't be like 200 super thick pages. Otherwise you're going to be carrying around a very, very heavy tome with you everywhere you write. So like the beauty about Tomoe River and a lot of the Japanese made journaling papers is that they will have very thin paper that's lightweight, but yet it could still hold fountain pen ink without bleeding through or without feathering. But that was some of the issues that were coming out of the Sanzen Tomoe River paper that was being introduced around 2025. And if people were getting upset over that, there were some inconsistencies involved with some of the inks that weren't feathering before were feathering on this paper, and then they were so it was a whole mess. But I think that they're working on it, so they're trying, because they know that there's a huge demand for this paper around the world by fountain pen enthusiasts, so they're trying.
That's great. They're at least listening to the fans. Like I said, I've not been able to get in touch with Be Creative. We've had my art store reach out to them, and it feels like at any moment they could just disappear. Like there's no social media presence or anything. It's really, really weird. But I love that company is listening to the fans. That's got to be nice.
Yeah, Be Creative. We gotta work on them somehow. They gotta keep. They gotta make. They would probably, especially since you love their paper so much, they would probably, if they made like a special Sava art edition.
I would sing their praises. I sing their praises all the time for free. I just want to make sure that they're still around. And I would love to see, bigger than 8.5 by, 5.5 or whatever the size is. I would love to see larger because, like Arch's paper, the cold press is a little too bumpy for me, and it makes my inking really difficult. If I go to hot press, it's too smooth, and then the watercolor doesn't look good. For some reason, the Be Creative just hits this perfect sweet spot, which I really like.
Yeah, but that's the thing about the tools that we use. When you get that sweet spot going, it's like you don't want anything else. You're just like, no, this is what I. As it comes down to for pen users, it's like the nib size. Even the brand could vary from one to another as far as like how thick the nib is or how smooth it is. Some people prefer to have that little bit of feedback. Others want it completely glassy smooth. Yeah. So, it's just very particular, and it's all unique to the individual.
Yeah, Donna has her favorite. She likes the thickest nibs. She's got, I think it's writer's blood is her favorite ink. She's got her favorite pen. She's found it, and it takes time, and that's the hard thing when you're talking to young artists, young journalists, journaling people. I'm sure it's the same. Is you have to let them know it's going to take some time. You're going to have to try different pens, different papers, different inks. There's an investment period that you have to do. You have to invest into different things, listen to what people are saying. You have to start to be aware of what you like and what you don't like. If you're writing and you go, this really makes me feel comfortable, or something about this feels off, you have to be self-aware to find out what that is. You kind of have to be a bit of a detective to say what's working and what's not and why. And when you're new to this, you don't know what questions to ask. You don't know why something doesn't feel good. You just have to, which is why a community is really good. And finding people online or finding local, in my case, artists, or in your case, what would you call it? The journaling community?
Journaling community, or the fountain pen community at large.
Fountain pen community, okay.
Yeah, because it's specifically when it comes to writing, we just tend to find that many people these days are really finding a lot of the satisfaction coming from fountain pens because of the variety of nib types involved. The level of expression is a lot more vibrant than it would be with ballpoints or rollerballs. Although Goldspot doesn't just sell fountain pens, it's everything. All sorts of writing modes. So it's up to whatever the individual is into. Which even somebody who's into journaling who uses fountain pens primarily will still have, like for example, I do have also with me the Pigma Micron pens. I love those for doing some sort of quick illustration or something like that. It's just it's really hard to beat. Yeah. their quality is really good.
I like them too because they're waterproof too. So I can go over them with watercolor, which is great.
Yeah, that's what I'll do for if I'm creating a little sketch or a drawing and I want to use like fountain pen ink to then color it or whatever. I'll use the Pigma Microns to start off with it.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Now on page 16 of Becoming an Artist, I could not help but find that there was a reference to a fountain pen of which your wife and best friend Donna had brought to New York City when she came. So I did put that question in there to want to ask about it. That's it. Okay.
This is the one.
So I had a suspicion it was going to be one of the Goldspot pens.
Oh, it has to
that
be.
And that it was. So that's the Leonardo Momento Zero and the forest one. Foresta Umbra.
Yeah. And then
there's her stub nib.
she journaled. So, which has been wonderful because we've been married 33 years. We met in 1988, and I would always have a sketchbook and I would kind of just sketch in it, but it was very haphazard. Like there might be a year between sketches or something like that. It wasn't until really when we started making animal crackers back in 2014 that I started getting into doing the watercolor sketchbook stuff. And she didn't start journaling until 2020 when her father passed away. And we 2020 was 6 years ago. We'd been married at the time for say 27 years. We were in we were in our late 40s, and suddenly we had something in common. We had something where we would go and do, and we went to Italy I got invited to teach a watercolor class in Venice, Italy, and
that's great.
I was painting with the class, and she would sit and she would journal, and we were able to kind of just find that time to just hang out and paint and I mean to journal together. So I would do it in painting, and she has two different journals. So she'll do notes. So these are just notes that she'll do, like when we were in New York, of like where we're going, what we're doing. And then when we go and get back to the hotel room, she would do these kind of journals.
Okay, like a scrapbooking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she has, I guess, a third journal, which is all of her thoughts and experiences and everything else. And for me, I just put everything all into one. So mine are like this. And this one here, we were in Arizona. We were both sitting at a tea shop, and she was journaling and I was, making art. And so every time you see my sketches, she's sitting next to me and we're talking and she's journaling and because we're there for an hour. And we like being in each other's presence.
The kids have a kind of a same thing too, where they could both be playing games together, but they're not playing the same game. It's kind of like you're doing things, but you're doing it together, but you're not really like doing the same thing together. It's not like you're playing a game of chess against each other, but you're just still, in each other's space and doing a similar activity. It's
really, really nice. And, for the book, when we were in New York, she was taking notes, and I couldn't do the sketches the way I normally would because A, it had to be in black and white, and B, I didn't want to add my own personal writings in there at the time. So all of the sketchbook was filled with black and white sketches throughout New York. And then I would move on to the next one. So I would sketch it and move on. So it felt really weird. We weren't doing that together. We were going from one spot to another. I was drawing really quickly. She was taking some notes, and then we were moving on to the next one. So there wasn't that peaceful being in the moment kind of thing.
Not feeling like you're rushed. You could just be there all day long if you wanted to. But like we have to do this, that, the other thing. So
yeah, we were on a mission. They wanted me to do, I think, 60 to 70 illustrations. I was supposed to be there for 2 weeks. It was just, I was done after 7 days.
There are an impressive number of illustrations in here, so I think that there's plenty. And also too is that I feel like that the writing itself is, I think from a perspective of somebody who's looking at it as a self-help book too, is more instructive and I think more helpful too. But I think that the illustrations though, it's a really nice backdrop to it though. Like it kind of, it's fun. It really does like keep you, I think, engaged, and also just kind of shows like what kind of sensitive eye and the type of personality that you have.
I'd love to come back and kind of do New York at a more leisurely pace. Maybe when we come out for the show, I can have, we can kind of do that. But as for the writing, I was really fortunate that Hay House let me do it in my own words. I didn't have to kind of come up with a writing voice. That's just how I talk. And so I was really happy. It made it very easy to just be myself. And so the book is very much just me.
Yeah, and you did mention in the book that responding to comments and questions on social media had helped inspire you then to put together the book the way that it is here with the ways that you're talking about battling imposter syndrome, or like what kind of it's like it's tracing like illegal. But what is maybe like one question that you get often that you didn't get a chance to answer in the book that you'd like to answer?
Honestly, whenever we go live, the question I get asked the most is, what pen are you using? Which is really funny, like to where I actually have a hotkey set up for the Zebra brush pen.
Really?
And yeah, that is the most common question, because people are always wondering how I can do my inking first and then go over it with watercolor. And it's funny because while I was doing the coloring book I'm working on right now, the microns, I got a bad batch of microns where the felt kind of just pushed into the metal part and it just disappeared. And I was going, I have nothing. And so Donna had a pen that she had bought me that I'd never used because you had to fill it up with ink, and it was too much work. And but it had a fine felt tip, and so I was using that, and not knowing I had to do a watercolor piece, and I just used that for some bits and went over it with watercolors, and the ink just bled everywhere because she doesn't normally use waterproof ink, and so I was so accustomed to either microns or the zebra brush pen, and I forgot. Oh yeah, not all ink is waterproof. Right. So, but yeah, that is the most asked question. I think other than that, I did capture most everything else, which was good.
Yeah, that was a question that I usually get, even though I put the identity of the pen, the ink, the paper in the description or in the caption. I'll still get, oh, what pen is that?
Yeah.
Or what
people never look at the descriptions.
Just read, please. I try. What was it like, meeting? Because you've gone on several different stops for your book tour, and I was just wondering what was it like really meeting all of these fans that you have online. What was it like meeting them in real life and swapping artwork with them?
Oh, gosh. It was emotionally overwhelming. It was in a good way, but it was, there's so many, it was balm to the soul. I mean, it was, you don't realize until you've had a chance to stand in front of someone and have them hand you artwork, and you give a stranger a hug because you've impacted their life in some way. To hear all of the stories of these young artists whose their parents won't allow them to make art, and this was their only refuge, or they're shunned by their friends for how they identify or how they love, or their religion, or whatever it might be. But it was really, really moving to know that I was a part of giving someone comfort, someone I'd never met, comfort from, this little hobbit hole, just by being me. I don't know any other way to explain it because it's very intangible. But I'm crying after every, after every signing. And it's
but it's a good cry though.
It is a very good cry. Yeah. It's the stories are sometimes heartbreaking. But seeing a line around the corner, seeing, go down the street, seeing people waiting for 4 hours to meet me, and I just want to spend a little bit of time with everybody. So I want to talk to everybody. I want to get to know them. I want to share stories with them. And everybody in line is patient. They know that it's needed. Everybody needs just a little bit of time and just to be acknowledged and to tell their story. And I'm not built for that. My autism, my shyness, I'm not built for talking to 200 people in a night. I'm not, but everybody knows that, and they're prepared for that. They're treating me with kindness. People aren't overwhelming. They're not shouting. They're not dancing. Everybody understands that it's a struggle for me too. Yeah. So it's a very amazing bonding experience that I get with these wonderful human beings. I'm so grateful, and I'm going to keep putting myself out there in uncomfortable situations because I feel it's needed. There's a lot of people who just need to be seen. Yeah. They need to be heard. they need to be told everything's going to be okay, and they need to be loved by a stranger because their family or friends won't love them. I didn't set out to be that person. Like I look at people who are like a Miss Rachel or Mr. Rogers, or I look at people who are equipped for that sort of thing. And I'm doing my best, but it's definitely a wonderful responsibility that I don't want to take for granted.
And have you seen, is there somebody that you've met that maybe reminds you of, let's say, your younger self?
All of them.
All of them? All of them in some way or another.
Yeah, I think we joke around that we're all fellow misfits. There are parents who come, they wait in line for 3-4 hours because their autistic child can't be out with that many people. There are kids who are nonverbal, who waited in this very, and the lines are not loud, but it's still overstimulating with the crowds and everything like that. Mm-hmm. They waited, and there are half of them are members of the LGBTQ community. They are all scared like me. They're all outcasts and introverts, and they're just trying to find their place in the world. So everything reminds me of me. Everything, like I said, I do feel that responsibility, not only to them but to my younger self, to be that person. People,
when they come to you, you just get attached to the perspective and the way of seeing the world, and the way of seeing like art, but like as a way of expression, as a way of mentally being able to just calm oneself down and to appreciate the beauty around you, and to see it in a different way that most people just are moving their lives too fast, or they're stuck in a certain headspace and they're not willing to open up, So it's like seeing somebody who just wants to explore and have fun and express themselves. It's just it's very, very calming.
It's needed. Mm-hmm. And I think I didn't set out to do any of this. There's a period where I guess you realize you're an elder. You're the older generation, and a lot of that came from all of the questions I was getting asked, and so I applaud the younger generation for being open to asking questions. That's so important that they ask these questions, and I think it's our job as the older generation to be there and to answer that, to guide them, because you don't want them to turn to people who aren't going to have their best interests in mind. And so I wind up talking about political things and socioeconomical things and religion and while I'm making art, because these are questions that people are asking, and these are things that are going on, and I'm not educated in that. I think it's at least good to have those conversations. And I think even when it comes to art, I don't talk from a position of an authority. I talk from this is what I understand. This is what I think that we should be doing. And and I try to do the same when it comes to bringing up anything with politics or anything else. But I think there comes a point in all of our lives where we stop learning. And not that we ever stop learning, but we go from the student to the teacher. Yeah. And sometimes it's just becoming a parent. Other times it's just your role in society. And I didn't ask for a platform of 4 million people. It was not on my bucket list. It was not something I wanted, but somebody gave me a megaphone, and I think if you're given that megaphone, you have to decide what do you want to do with it. And so I want to make the world a little kinder.
Bring that peace and openness and being curious instead of closed-minded.
Thank you. Thank you for saying it better than I could.
No, it's all good. I would ask, in your opinion, today, what is the biggest misconception most people have about being an artist?
It's funny because I think the stereotype is pretty true. I think we're starving, we're underappreciated. I think the biggest misconception is that we're lazy, that we sit around waiting for the muse to hit us. I'm sure that's the same thing with authors and musicians, and it is a lot of work. And a lot of artists are scared that all of that work is going to be for naught, thanks to AI coming in and stealing their work and people trying to replace us. Being an artist was hard enough, and now they're trying to just eliminate art, which is insane. But I think the misconceptions are generally true. Honestly,
the rumors are true. It's
the rumors are
it's
true.
not easy. And that's something that I faced early on with getting out of college, and as I have a bachelor's in fine arts, what am I doing with this thing? Especially in my senior year, I had a very dire moment where I just kind of felt that while my other classmates were getting these internship opportunities, kind of getting set up with their next phase as their collegiate careers were coming to an end. Their programs had them either shadow, apprentice, get an internship at some place. And meanwhile, they were like, let's make slides so you could send your artwork to galleries and to competitions. And I'm like sitting there with my my zip disks, because at the time like flash drives were kind of still a little bit expensive.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, who is making these really expensive slides to send them out to, who is really accepting these things anymore?
Yeah.
I don't get the whole, and I'm just like, these people are stuck in the yesteryear of like how things used to be done when things were rapidly changing. So like I had a moment, and I kind of worked past it. I did like a regular job as a sales person for let's say a year and a half, and then I just said this was giving me like, I had like a full-on panic episode where I'm like, this is not what I want to be doing. Let me, I got to find something that relates to being creative or being art, doing art somehow. And that's how I ended up getting into, there was a Craigslist posting for making a catalog for a pen company. So I was like, all right, well, I know how to use. One of the things I always did too is like I like using the computer for either I was designing HTML web pages and GeoCities back in the day.
Oh, that's cool.
Like I was doing like Dreamweaver and Quark Express, and I had like older versions of Photoshop, like the kind that you would just buy in the box, and then it was like outdated next year. So so I went into that, and I was like, I know how to do this stuff. I'll lay it, but it just provided so much more satisfaction, and still actually like I still got a living from it. And I know that's like a similar circumstance with you too. It's like when you're like, let's say, working on a project and you've gotten hired for a while, it's like it's nice to have that consistent paycheck and everything, because
it's rare.
You need to be able to support. You got the twin sons, and I got kids of my own. It's like you got to be able to pay the bills.
It's we look back and we go, I don't know how we survived. It's just somehow you make it, you hustle, you work hard, you take the jobs that you get, and we made it. But the life of an artist, as you know, is not secure, but it's needed. Society really does. A good society will understand the need of that we need artists. Not currently, but like we need. What was it? Was it the Medici family? The ones that
the ones in Florence that used to have
they funded like Michelangelo, and we need those patrons to say, hey, make the arts, make the arts, and we need a new renaissance.
Yeah, I mean, eventually we'll get there, because I feel that the more that we keep pushing towards the technological, for example, that moment in 2020 where everybody got forced to, go on Zoom calls instead of seeing people face to face. Yeah, it's like all of a sudden then people started playing chess, people started journaling again.
Yeah.
People started,
Making sourdough bread.
Yeah, making a sourdough starter. It just is crazy to see that, even and in the face of AI still pushing with like stuff that's in person. There's that resistance or a counterbalance that happens because like we're pushing hard in one direction and people are like, hold on, we're missing these things that we liked or that we maybe didn't really appreciate before, but sure as heck do now.
Yeah.
Because if you're telling me that this is going to replace it, no. I don't want that to replace it. Like there's still a lot of great value here.
Yeah.
That's what the argument always is with writing too. Is you actually see that some of the states are implementing cursive back in the curriculum after it being eliminated. Yeah, because there's so many studies that say the kids are not absorbing the material as much through just either typing or doing voice memos or anything. This fluency of breaking down the writing and having it done by hand helps you learn and retain that information better.
That's amazing. Donna still does cursive. I still print. I can do cursive, but I was fortunate that my sophomore year of high school, which was 1984, I took a typing class and with a typewriter and everything. And I retained that and I could type really fast. So I was very fortunate that I got that.
I did I don't know if Mavis Beacon, if there's that typing software, Mavis Beacon typing.
Yeah.
And I did that. Used to do that back in school. And I would say, though, that what really made me great was at typing was communicating a lot on AOL Instant Messenger and doing it very quickly. So we talked about Spider-Man and that early in your career, your big goal was drawing a Spider-Man comic. And I was just wondering that having achieved that, what is really the it thing now? Because I mean, especially you have a book out and you have a massive audience on YouTube. You've kind of checked a lot of boxes along the way in your career.
Yeah.
I just was wondering if there's like something big that's like getting you to spring up out of bed and work really hard.
Ever since I did Spider-Man, everything changed, because I put it up on a pedestal for like 32 years. And I felt like Inigo Montoya after he killed the Six Finger Man. Like that was everything. Like he didn't know what to do. It's opened me up to be able to do something like writing a book and doing the YouTube. We got to make a movie. We did Animal Crackers. Saying, let's see what happens, has been really, really good for me. I had written a book for my boys I'd written a lot of books for my boys, graphic novels. But the one that I loved the most was the Dreamland Chronicles. And it was 8 books. There was toys and everything. And I'd really like to revisit that world of Dreamland. I'd really like to revisit those characters. And we've been talking to some people about having me do that as an animated series on my YouTube channel.
Awesome.
And I think that would be, I miss animation. I miss it. I miss working in animation and I miss being behind the camera. I don't like being in front of the camera. So I think this will be a good thing if I get to do that. But I'm very aware that I got to do my childhood dream. And for the last 25 years, because it's coming up on, next year's 25 years since I did Spider-Man. But for the last 25 years, I have not ever forgotten that. It is something rare that people get to, because people come up with, I want to be an astronaut, or I want to, be a Disney princess or something. And it's very rare that you get to make, come up with a dream that big and get a chance to do it. So I'm very, very aware of how fortunate I am how blessed I am to have gotten that opportunity. And I try not to squander it. And when things don't go well, I try to remember, but you got to do that, so it's never as bad because I did get to fulfill my childhood dreams. So it's a good feeling that I have to just keep reminding myself.
But I mean, that does sound like a really cool project then to be working on, is like taking this, yes, because it was a series, right? It was a graphic novel series.
The Dreamland Chronicles. Yeah, it was a web comic, so I would post a page every day, and it had King Arthur, it had ancient Egypt, it had centaurs and dwarves and dragons, and it's a kitchen sink of everything I grew up with, from Conan the Barbarian to John Carter of Mars, the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, The Hobbit, just all of the fun stuff that I loved, I threw in there, and I miss it. It's my favorite thing I've ever written is that.
These days, it's I wouldn't say necessarily easier than ever, but like it's more possible than ever to put something like that together and get it broadcasted. It's just there's a lot of potential out there, especially too, as I feel like the fantasy genre or like talking about a lot of those nostalgic characters and like that's something that people love to watch. Like they love those kinds of stories.
Yeah, and YouTube's a great format. Animal Crackers came out on Netflix, which was huge. It was great. But I think YouTube is the world's largest studio. It's the world's, it's the largest platform, and I think being able to do that authentically and to make an animated series where my followers could come along with me during the making of it too. Yeah. They could, follow along with the production, I think is really, really special. So I think it'll be a very interactive experience, which I like.
You could do like cool, like side quest episodes that could be like for specific like Patreon members and stuff like that. You could go crazy with the concept because it's like just exploring and imagining a wide open world, and it's all the stuff that you love.
Yeah,
we're being highly complimentary about YouTube so that they'll give us like a little bump in the algorithm.
YouTube's the bee's knees. We love YouTube.
Yes. But Scott, I know you're a busy artist, so I don't want to keep you too long. Where can people find you online if they want to be part of the community, share their art, or just say hello?
S Sava Art, which is S for Scott, Sava, my last name, art. Anywhere, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, but I think I'm mostly on YouTube, which is probably the best way to see me. And then we also have a community on YouTube where you can post your art, and Donna's very active there. I pop in from time to time, but everybody there is very nice, and they share their art, and they're very complimentary, which I like.
That's awesome. It's great to have like that interactivity and be able to share, because that's like part of what the great experience of seeing you in person is. It's like you get to show the art and and not necessarily get a critique for it, because I don't know if that's what people are looking for, but like they just want to be seen, like you said. It's all about giving that empowerment, spreading the kindness, of which I appreciate you joining us and helping us spread that kindness to the folks of the Gold Spot Pens YouTube channel. So.
I love doing it. And I'm really looking forward to meeting you all in person, and I'm looking forward to the show.
Yeah, absolutely. And also too is that if anybody is interested in getting Scott's book, Becoming an Artist, there will be a link in the description below, so you could pick up your copy. I will admit I did not get all the way through. I'm about maybe like a quarter. So, but I will be reading the rest of it, because what I read so far I was really happy with.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's like a distillation of all of the posts that you do. So it's like it's but it's all there, and I don't have to have my computer or my phone in front of me. I can read it in analog. So.
And no ads.
No ads. No ads, no battery power needed. It is just there. All right, Scott, I thank you so much for joining us. And
thank you.
I like to sign off these videos with "Stay inky, my friends. Take care," and you could sign off which way that you'd like to. So
be kind. We'll just say be kind.
All right. Thanks. Take care.